You spent decades saving for retirement, and now you have more money than you ever imagined possible. But here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody talks about. You can't actually bring yourself to spend it. Every time you think about booking that trip or buying something nice, there's a voice in your head that says, what if you run out? Or that's wasteful. The hardest part of retirement isn't having enough money. It's giving yourself permission to actually enjoy the money you've worked so hard to save. I'm Josh Maly, and in today's video, I'm going to walk you through a practical framework that shifts you from scarcity thinking to confident spending. By the end, you'll understand exactly how to know what's safe to spend, how to silence the guilt, and how to finally live the retirement you plan for. Chapter 1, when spending feels harder than saving. Here's something I see all the time after 20 years as a financial planner. People who are excellent savers become terrible spenders in retirement. And it makes sense when you think about it. For 30 or 40 years, your financial success was measured by if your account balance was going up. Every month, you got a paycheck, you saved a portion, and you watched that number grow. That rising balance became your security blanket and your scorecard. But the day you retire, suddenly you're supposed to watch that balance go down on purpose. For many retirees, this feels fundamentally wrong. It triggers a deep psychological alarm that says danger, even when the math says you're perfectly fine. Many retirees are simply too afraid to spend what they have. This isn't just about being frugal. It's about a deeply ingrained habit of accumulation that's incredibly hard to break. You've trained yourself for decades to feel good when the number goes up and anxious when it goes down. Retirement asks you to reverse that programming, and your brain resists. There's also the fear factor. What if the market crashes? What if I live to 100? What if healthcare costs explode? These are rational concerns, and they can paralyze you into hoarding more money than you'll ever get to enjoy. It's one reason that retiree spending often drops about 10% from age 60 to 69, with discretionary spending taking the biggest hit right after retirement begins. That's exactly when you should be enjoying yourself the most. Chapter 2, the real cost of waiting too long. I often have people get in touch with me who might be 68 years old with $2 million saved. They wanted to take the big European trip, but they're nervous about spending $15,000 because what if we need it later? We run the numbers and I show them their plan works every time, even if they double that amount, but they still hesitate. 5 years later at 73, one of them has health issues that make international travel difficult. Now they have 2.3 million and the regret of missed opportunity. The money is still there, but the window's closed. This is what financial planners call the go-go years, and they're irreplaceable. These are typically your 60s and early 70s when you have the health, energy, and enthusiasm to really enjoy retirement. You can travel internationally, you can be physically active, and you can create memories with family while everyone is still healthy enough to participate. Discretionary spending naturally decreases as you age, not just because you become more frugal, but because you can't physically do as much. By your late 70s and 80s, you enter the slow-go years, where you're less interested in expensive travel and more interested in comfort and routine. Chapter 3, how to know what's safe to spend. The guilt around spending often comes from one place, uncertainty. You don't know if it's actually safe to spend, so your brain defaults to the safest option, which is not spending at all. The cure for this isn't just positive thinking. It's creating a clear system that tells you exactly what's safe. Here's a practical framework someone might start with. First, separate your money into buckets with different jobs. At a minimum, you need a now bucket and a later bucket. Your now bucket doesn't mean having an emergency fund to cover the next 3 months. It means having conservative investments that can protect your retirement income for years to come, regardless of what happens in the stock market. This protected income bucket might hold enough to cover your essential expenses for the next 15 to 20 years. When most people look for a safer income in the stock market to fill this bucket, they look for things like bond funds. I'd rather see retirees own CDs, treasuries, bonds with staggered maturity dates, or maybe even annuities. Here's why. When you own a fund, the price and income can fluctuate with the stock market and interest rates. You have no control over it. When you own the actual securities, you know how much income one will provide and when they mature and when you get your principal back. Which scenario would you choose if the stock market would have dropped by 40% tomorrow? Your growth bucket is everything else. Diversified stocks and index funds with a long time horizon. This money doesn't need to be touched for 15 to 20 years, which gives it time to recover from any downturn and continue growing to keep pace with inflation. And here's the key. When you want to spend money on something meaningful, you're drawing from a bucket that has nothing to do with the stock market. You can see exactly how much is there and exactly how long it'll last. That separation is what keeps people from panicking when the market drops because their income is already protected. The other piece is stress testing your plan. Use a retirement planning software or work with an advisor to model different scenarios. What if the market drops 40% next year? What if I live to 100? What if inflation stays at 4% for a decade? If your plan survives these stress tests and you still have money left over, you have mathematical permission to spend. Chapter 4. Make the bucket strategy your permission structure. Knowing the math is safe isn't always enough. You also need to feel it, and that's exactly what the bucket strategy is designed to do. When you can open your account and see 15 to 20 years of income sitting in individual bonds, CDs, and treasuries, money that has absolutely nothing to do with the stock market, the anxiety around spending starts to loosen its grip. You're not pulling from some abstract pool of savings and hoping it lasts. You're drawing from a bucket with a specific job, a specific timeline, and a specific dollar amount. You can see exactly how long it lasts without needing the stock market to cooperate at all. That changes the internal conversation. Instead of, can I afford this trip? The question becomes, does this fit within what my plan says is safe? And most of the time, the answer is yes. The growth bucket reinforces this because it has 15 to 20 years before you need to touch it. You're not watching it nervously during a downturn. It's doing its job on a completely different timeline than your spending. The permission to spend doesn't come from a mindset shift. It comes from a structure that makes the math visible and the risk contained. Chapter 5, stress testing the plan so you trust it. The two fears that keep retirees from spending are market crashes and outliving their money. A good plan doesn't ignore these. It proves that you can make it through these risks. Take the 2008 financial crisis, when the stock market dropped roughly 50% from peak to trough. If your entire portfolio was in stocks, that was devastating. But inside a two-bucket framework, your protected income bucket never moved. Your bonds or CDs, treasuries, annuities, they did what they were supposed to do and paid what they were supposed to pay. Your monthly income didn't change by a single dollar. Meanwhile, your growth bucket dropped, but you weren't touching it. By 2013, the market had fully recovered. By 2015, it was hitting new highs. Your growth bucket had years to recover because it was never needed for income during the downturn. That's not theory, that's what actually happened. Now, model longevity. A growth bucket invested in diversified stocks that compounds untouched for 15 to 20 years has historically grown enough to extend a retirement plan well past age 90, even after accounting for inflation. And here's the part most people forget. Your discretionary spending naturally decreases as you age, but you'll likely be spending more on healthcare. But your most expensive years should be your healthiest years, which is exactly when the protected income bucket is at its strongest. The final layer is flexibility. You review the plan annually. If markets have a historic run, you can spend a bit more. If you hit a rough stretch, you pull back on discretionary spending temporarily. The structure absorbs the shocks so your lifestyle doesn't have to. When you can see your plan survive the worst case scenarios on paper, spending within the safe zone stops feeling like a risk. Chapter 6, what to do next. Here's where to start. Look at how your money is currently allocated and ask one question. If the market dropped 40% tomorrow, would your income for the next 5 years be completely protected? If the answer is no, your first step is building the separation between protected income and long-term growth. Then stress test your plan. Work with a financial professional to model a severe market crash, a decade of high inflation, and living to 95. If the plan survives all three, you have a real number that represents what you can safely spend each year. Once you have that number, use it. Book the trip. Make the purchase. Stop telling yourself maybe next year about the things that matter most to you. The go-go years don't come back, and the money will still be there when you return. You didn't save for 30 years so you could watch the balance from the sidelines. You saved so you could live. A good plan makes sure you can do both. If you're ready to build a retirement plan that gives you confidence to spend without guilt, click the link below to schedule a consultation with our team at Modern Capital. We'll help you create a personalized strategy that maximizes your lifestyle while protecting your financial security, because retirement should be lived, not just survived.